Hey everybody, welcome to Mammoth Interactive's YouTube channel. First of all, I want to thank you for watching this video. And remember that this channel doesn't do Patreon. Instead, we sell our digital courses down below. And every single dollar that we get from the products you buy below goes into making more content. The best way to help out this channel and Mammoth Interactive is to subscribe to Mammoth Interactive's huge library of content. Get thousands of hours and hundreds of courses for a low price down below. We have a monthly option and a yearly option. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the video.
All right, welcome everyone to this tutorial series. Now, this tutorial series, I'm going to be showing you the basics of game design with the Unreal Engine's first-person shooter template. Now, this tutorial series is great for anyone who wants to learn game design, but it's more geared at complete beginners. All right, before we start, I want to make sure that you like and subscribe, and the more likes and subscribers we get, the more content we can make. All right, so let's take a look at how we get to this screen here. So once you download the Unreal Engine, you can take a look at the library tab and make sure that you click the engine version here. I'm using this engine version, and don't get too caught up about the engine versions when you're starting out. Just focus on making a game. The engine versions, there obviously will be differences, but you know what? Big things that you need to understand as a beginner usually don't change that much. They sometimes do, but most of the time they don't. For the most part, this is what the engine version is, and I would just kind of deal with whatever engine you have, and I would use the latest one. If there is something that's completely different, please post it in the comments below, and I'm pretty sure someone can help you out. All right, so now that we have this start a new project here, as you can see, I have a few of these projects here. You can make a bunch of different projects, but I'm just going to go ahead and select game here, and I'm going to go and select one of these templates here. Now, one of the things I absolutely love about the Unreal Engine is the fact that you can use different templates, right? So you can use first person, flying, etc., etc., etc. And you can take a look at these, and they give you a bunch of functionality to start out with, which I think is super crucial. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the first person template here. The other one that I like to use is the third person. But we're just going to do the first person for now. We're going to go ahead and push next here. And as you can see, there's a bunch of different options here. So you want a blueprint. You can have a C++ where you code it out, but blueprint is a non-coding. It's non-coding, so it's also pretty good. So what you should do is you should do maximum quality, ray tracing disabled. You can have the option for desktop or mobile, but since you're developing on a desktop, let's just do the desktop. Even if everything is, if you want to be a mobile developer, just do desktop for now. And then you obviously want the starter content. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in, we're just going to call this first person shooter. And the other thing you'll notice is that you can't use spaces, and this is just because the computer doesn't understand spaces in terms of names. It's really important that you get all the naming of your file right. For example, I'm going to name this first person shooter, or FPS, and I believe you get a certain amount of characters with this too. I think, yeah, you only get 20 characters, so you do have to abbreviate. So first person shooter, we'll call this YouTube tutorial, and oftentimes you sometimes put a version number here, but for now I'm just going to do it here. Now it's you might not think this is important, but if you're porting your game to other areas, it's actually incredibly important. Now what I'm also going to do is I'm also going to make my own folder for this. You don't have to do this. For whatever reason, my version of Unreal does not it doesn't select a default folder. I could probably fix that, but nevertheless, I'm putting the same folder as my name here, and I'm going to go ahead and push create project here, and that might take a bit of time here. In fact, I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to wait till it's done. All right, so that didn't take very long. Now I'm on a newish computer that has decent stats. If you're on an older computer, it might take a lot more time here. You're probably noticing this here. Basically, I have a dialogue plugin which I bought on the asset store, and it always asks me for every new project here. Okay, so there we go. Now we have a project here, and one of the things that I always recommend you do when you start a project, and this goes for any kind of software development, is that you go ahead and you look here and you see that it does work, and that looks pretty good, and I think that looks actually quite good, and you can see that everything works out pretty well here. Now you might not be able to hear the volume here, but that volume was pretty loud. But nevertheless, it does get kind of annoying from the tutorial point of view, but you can see that you have a first-person character here, and you have a little projectile, and some of these boxes have physics on it, and we'll be talking about that in a second here, but you basically have a little playground. Now, the reason why I love Unreal is that you get this little playground to kind of test out ideas. A lot of the things that people do, or a lot of the things that game developers do, is that they do test out a lot of their ideas. When you play a game, it looks like it was done on the first go, but there might have been 10 or 20 different prototypes before that game was actually fleshed out and put onto the market here. If it's a fairly standard game like a first-person shooter, there is still prototyping to do. Like first-person shooter, there's a lot of things that can be done with the genre, and you need to prototype whether it works here. So for instance, if I was making a game here, there could be a physics game where I shoot boxes, right? There could be a zombie type game. There's a lot of different kind of first-person shooters you can do, right? You can even have a game where you shoot on the ground and it propels you up. So there's a lot of different things you can do with even a genre that is very well known here. And if you're trying to make a completely new game, prototype is even more important. So that's something that I highly recommend that you do here, all right? So as you can see, this is a really good representation of what you need to start doing here. Now, there's a lot that is going on here, and within this particular scene here, you can see that there is this hierarchy of items here, okay? And that looks like it's a lot here, but when you think about it, and we take a look here, we have big wall 2, and if you click on one, you'll be able to see that here, and then I'll show you how to kind of move this around in the next tutorial here. But what this is that this gives you everything that there is inside of the item here, and you can see that there's like the light source and everything that you would possibly need to start off. And this is why I highly recommend not starting from scratch, because imagine if you had to put all these things in here, it would take you, well, it would take you some time, right? Whereas the template just basically gives it to you right away, and I think that's actually pretty awesome. You can see here that there's a lot here. Now, if you don't know, for example, if you don't know what the sphere reflection thing is yet, you don't necessarily need to know. Atmospheric fog, there's a little bit of fog there, but not much. But you can see that there's the light source. You can change the light color, and we'll be talking all about this very soon here. But what I want you to know right off the bat is that when you start something in a template, there's a lot of work that just goes into making this look the way this looks, and it's pretty interesting. There's a lot of work that needs to be done to get to this point, and Unreal just kind of gives it to you so you can kind of start making your game right away. Because remember, if you did every time you wanted to start a project, if you had to put something in here, like all these items here, it would be quite a bit of work, and you'd waste time. Let's say if it took you 10 minutes, right? And if you did this every day, for 5 days, you'd waste about almost an hour of time just kind of doing that. But that's an hour of time you could be getting better at game development, all right? So that concludes this tutorial. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and if you really like this video, you can share it, and if you share it, that's also really good. I'll see you in the next video.